Welcome to this latest episode of the Shots Pod, where we discuss all things Aldershot Town FC. My name is Liam Flint. I'm joined as ever by Howard Flint. Dad, just me and you today. How you doing?
Doing well, Liam. Thanks. Enjoyed the win and over this weekend, and looking forward to what's ahead.
Yeah, so we're going to actually talk about the Oxford City game that recently came and went and get Tommy's reaction. Interesting quotes from him in his post-match interview. Dad, we're also going to do some run-in predictions. So obviously now it's getting to that time, 10 games to go. We've both come up with our score predictions for the remainder of the season. So I've dubbed this episode a bit of a statathon because I know you like your stats and you've got pages and pages of things to say. So it could be interesting.
It could be, but I always go on the maxim that facts are our friends, Liam.
And I will give my opinion solely based on those facts, seeing as you've done all the research. So that's helpful to know. But Dad, let's just review what's gone the last couple of weeks to start with. Obviously, we had Tommy Widdrington on, which was brilliant. Spoke really openly, had some great feedback on that. And also our chat with Theo Widdrington, obviously son of. And both of those seem to have gone down well. We've had some really positive feedback. And I think that's just what we're aiming for, isn't it? That we want to bring some insight, look at things from different angles and shine a light on maybe some players or topics that you wouldn't otherwise hear about at the Shots. So do you feel like that was a good start?
Yeah, I do. I think Tommy was really good. I really enjoyed talking with him or listening. Anyway, we did a lot of listening, but he had loads of views which we didn't have before. And Theo, I thought was tremendously open and very honest and gave us a really good insight. And my experience of the Shots over the years is we don't get a great deal of background a lot of the time. So it was really good to hear it from people who are right in the centre of the club. And yeah, thankfully people have enjoyed listening. So hopefully they'll continue to do that.
Yeah, and don't worry, everyone, we haven't run out of guests already. No need to fear, but we thought we can't be spoiling you with players every single week and coaching staff. So we will have intimate episodes where we talk a little bit more about what's to come, what's gone, and just a little bit of our story as well in supporting Aldershot Town FC. So yeah, Dad, let's start with the recent Oxford City game. Obviously 2-1 to the Shots, looked reasonably comfortable, but I think you'd agree with me in that the overall vibe, the overall takeaway was that actually this wasn't a brilliant performance, that we left a few goals out there, could have been a banana skin. And we definitely heard that from Tommy, didn't we, in his post-match?
Yeah, I think my assessment was that Tommy was really cross. His post match, he's clearly not a happy man. He said he was happy with the 3 points, but I think in terms of performance, he described it as being the wind went out of us, and there were lots of chances that weren't taken. And at the end of the day, it could have been a draw because Oxford City had a chance towards the end. Ex-player Giles Phillips didn't quite get hold of his shot, but it could have been a 2-2, which would have been a travesty in terms of possession. But yeah, we looked like we were just not grafting enough in the areas that were about creating goals and taking goals. So yeah, a bit worrying, I think, that we didn't finish the game earlier.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy's always very professional, quite diplomatic. As you said, he said, great for the 3 points. I think he said some players, forgot their roles today, went a bit off script. Do you think actually behind the scenes that would have been quite a firm full-time team talk, like this is not good enough kind of thing?
Yeah, because we know the quality of opposition coming, and when we look at fixtures to come, they have qualities like clinical finishing, robust defence, more robust perhaps than Oxford City. No disrespect to them, and also with a mentality of being near the top and going for the playoffs like we are. So you've got a whole different animal there if you're talking about Gateshead away or Oldham at home. So we've got to be on it, really. And I think my reading was Tommy was saying we weren't on it and we need to be on it for these last 10 games. So, yeah, probably glad to get the points, but we need to learn, I think, quite quickly.
Yeah, I enjoyed the quote where Tommy referred to if we play like this against better opposition, no disrespect to Oxford City, that we'll get our pants pulled down. And I think that's a nice, mild way of putting it. I mean, we all have off games, don't we? And the end of the day, the 3 points is the most important. And we didn't slip up like we have done before in away games recently. But I think a pattern I'm noticing, I don't know if you agree, Dad, is that we seem to start really strongly away from home. First 10, 20 minutes, the intensity's there. We often go a goal or two up, but you never feel, as a Shots fan, safe with that. And it's almost like we play in fits and starts. We play in 20-minute segments where we're on fire. We take the lead. You think, oh, this is going to be a walk in the park, 4-0, 3-0. But then by about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, often just before half time, actually, we normally concede one at least. And then the other team grows into the game. And I'm aware, obviously, we've had a couple of red cards in the last 5 games, which then completely throws the game plan out the window. And Tommy's made reference to that. But it feels like we've got a bit of a pattern that we start like a house on fire, but then the opposition just is allowed to come back into it. And we often then go from 3 points to 1. And sometimes 3 points to 0. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a mentality thing, and I think it's an inexperience. I think it's linked to inexperience, because to me, teams that are more experienced in being in that position probably have the mentality to say, yeah, we're going to actually not just coast for a while. I think what I've seen live in games is that we've at times coasted. So I mean, let's just reel them off a little bit. We were 2-0 up at Kidderminster and ended up losing the game 4-2. So that's 2 goals, 4, and then the next 4 were all conceded. Wealdstone, we were 2 goals up, and we then went 3-2 behind and ended up drawing 3-3. Halifax, we were a goal up. This is all away games. We were a goal up, and we actually came back to 1-1 and then won the game. So credit due there. And yesterday, similar pattern, 1-1, and then we found a winner. So I think, yes, I think it's mentality, and I think it's probably inexperienced players or players, younger players who are not quite experienced about how to concrete a winning position yet. And I think if I was a fly on the wall yesterday or the Oxford game, I would be saying, I think Tommy probably was saying those things, that we've got to be much more concrete in holding a game. And we'll have to see if we can do it.
Yeah, I think these are the pros and cons, aren't they, of having that young squad. So we heard Theo Widdrington reference that last week, that actually he praised the mentality. And many times we've actually seen attacking football, adventurousness, resilience, despite being a young squad. But then perhaps on the flip side of that is what we're explaining, which is actually not knowing how to kill the game off, allowing the opposition to come back into it when you think maybe the Chesterfields of this world would just continue to run you over 4-5-0. It feels like there's a little bit of naivety there, and maybe just lack of concentration. I wonder if that's what Tommy meant when he said, a few players went off script and didn't actually follow what we wanted them to do. It did just feel, like we lost control a little bit. Obviously great that we went to get the second goal. But I think food for thought, and we need to be much better in the next game, obviously, as we face playoff opposition.
Yeah. I mean, one of the key things, Liam, as you know from competitive sport, is doing what you're meant to do in your role under pressure, and that's a key thing. So whether you're winning or losing, you do your part of the job under pressure, and I think that's where perhaps Aldershot are found wanting somewhat, that when we need to actually put our foot on the game and kill the game, like you say, which is a pressure in itself. I think maybe we throttle back, and then of course against good teams, you can lose, and against average teams you can end up dropping 2 points. I would say Wealdstone's a classic example, battling to save the game in the last 10 minutes, where we absolutely dominated. We were doing everything but score in those last 10. Eventually, last gasp goal. That's not good for the heart.
Not good for the heart or the soul or anything, to be honest.
No.
But 3 points it is. An away victory it is, which is all still confidence. And again, Stokes, Tolaj linking up really well, providing for one another, both scoring. They continue to just, lead the line really well. And they're such a key part of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, Brilliant, really good. They have a really good understanding, and I think it should be mentioned over 500 fans from the shots, which meant half the crowd was actually for shots. And I know the ground doesn't lend itself to groups of large groups of fans getting together, and so the atmosphere is a bit down. But I mean, 500 fans is fantastic, isn't it? It's basically half the attendance.
Yeah, that's a really good point actually to make. I think quite often when you see the Vanarama away day stats they release, shots are normally somewhere in the top 3 or 4. And I think they got the official silver medal this time in coming second. So that's great. Really good statement of our following, and great that they got to see the 3 points as well. So Dan, we said it's going to be a bit of a statathon. We're going to move into predicting the run-in. So it's that time, officially 10 games to go. Shots are in a good position as we stand, but let's just work through these. How do you want to do it? Should we do it one game at a time? You give us your prediction, I'll match you with mine, and we'll see, in reality, what's going to happen. But let's go through it one at a time.
Okay.
Shall we?
Yes, indeed. And
of course, if you're listening or watching to this, you can send us in your own predictions, drop us a comment or DM us or something so that we know, what you think about our predictions as well. So, Dad, upcoming is Oldham Athletic next at home. What are you saying for that one?
I had a 2-1 Shots win.
Okay. I've gone for a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
I think it's going to be quite cagey. I think Oldham are dangerous, and so I just saw it. I just saw it as I think it's going to be stalemate, 1-1. Probably us to score first. But neither of us think we're going to lose, which is positive. That's a good start.
I think Shots home form has been such this year that I think they've really stepped up for the big games. I'm thinking Barnet, Bromley should have beaten Bromley. Had loads of opportunity, made all the opportunities really. So I'm hopeful. It'll be tight. Oldham are a good side, like you say. They'll play on the break, and Shots are going to have to really be awake, particularly if they take the lead.
And we took out Altrincham, obviously, at home as well, in part of that busy period we had.
Yeah.
So, you're right. Home form would suggest a win. I'm just thinking, I'm not sure about that one. So 3-1, you've said. I've said 1-1.
I said 2-1.
Oh, sorry, 2-1.
Yeah.
Okay, 2-1. We'll see who the biggest optimist and pessimist is by the end of this. Okay, Ebbsfleet.
I've gone for 1-1 draw. And the reason for that is I think Ebbsfleet are flying. Obviously, they've under Danny Searle, which is an interesting acquisition that they've made. I was a bit surprised about Danny being appointed there. But I think they're on a winning run, and they've got a game this week coming before the game at Shots, and I think they're going to be tricksy customers.
Okay, we've pretty much reversed ourselves on this one. So I've gone for a 3-1 home win. Because I think, as you're rightly saying, Ebbsfleet on a good run of form. But I think when you look at that, just our home form, and I thought Oldham Athletic at home is tricky. Ebbsfleet, we should be beating Ebbsfleet. All thing, if we can keep 11 players on the pitch for once. So I've put it as a 3-1.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
Okay.
Added a bit of spice, of course, is Danny Searle returning to the Shots for the first time as an opposition manager. So there's a little bit of spice there as well. But let's see.
How do you think he'll be received?
I think Shots are usually pretty generous, certainly to ex-players. There's loads of ex-players around, aren't there? That are playing for other National League teams, and generally, I think we're generous. I think he didn't pull up any trees while he was there, or the teams that he led didn't pull up any trees. But I think he's a genuine man, and I think he is a thoughtful person. And if you listen to his post matches, he's clearly doing a good job. Actually, he's turned that around massively. Unbeaten in 6-7 now, and doing well, and probably will lead them to survival. So a bit like Tommy did last year for us. But he didn't pull up any trees in terms of playing style, and I'm not sure there was a pattern of play that I could describe to you when he was in charge.
Okay, let's move on to York City away. York City currently at the wrong end of the table, trying to get away from relegation. What do you reckon?
I had a 2-1 win for the Shots.
Okay, so I've been a bit bolder. I've gone for a 3-1 win to the Shots. So we both believe they'll be getting 3 points at York. That's good. So we're both predicting pretty strong starts to the next 3 games. We don't see Shots losing any of those 3, Oldham, Ebbsfleet or York.
No.
Which is a good start. Okay. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Solihull at home, who are currently
1-1.
above the Shots.
Yeah, I've got 1-1. My thinking of their fourth at this time of us talking, their fourth. They're a compact team. They're not tremendously explosive. They don't score loads and loads of goals, but they're what I would call compact. And I think Shots will have a challenge in that game. Obviously, they'll be coming looking not to lose, won't they? You don't want to lose to the teams immediately around you. So I think they'll set up to get a point, and we'll get one.
Okay, I'm seeing this one as a bit of a banana skin, so I've gone for a 2-0 Solihull.
Okay.
Even at home. I just see it being, really tricky. And Tavon Campbell, obviously, ex-Shots, which is interesting itself. He's started really well. And they're just getting the results at the moment. So I see that as a possible loss for us in this run of games.
Okay.
So there you go. The pessimist strikes again. Right. Another tricky one, you could say. Obviously, Maidenhead, again, wrong end of the table, but away games are always tricky for Shots. What have you gone for?
I've surprised myself a little and said I think a 2-1 win for Shots. I'm aware of the challenges of Maidenhead. The pitch is always a leveler there. I don't think that's deliberate at all, but it's just never very good, and it's quite narrow. There's not a lot of space, and Maidenhead play in a sort of compact way. But I think I have a sense that Shots will go there and try and get a result. So I've actually positively gone for a win there.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed Maidenhead have only won 1 in the last 5. So
yeah,
with our form, I've said 2-0 win to the Shots.
Okay, we agree.
So we're both confident away at Maidenhead. Okay, this one I think is going to be interesting. Dorking at home, who have recently turned over Chesterfield 4-1, and they always play, exciting football. Manager's really good value for money whenever you listen to him.
Yes.
Sorry,
go on.
You go. It's all right, you go on this one.
I've gone for a 3-1 win for the Shots.
Okay, I've gone 3-2. I see being a bit of pinball. What do you see happening?
Yeah, I agree. I think both sides have goals in them, don't they? And Dorking is struggling a little bit in terms of their position, but some of their results have been quite startling. Not least the latest one, 4-1 against Chesterfield. But I just fancy the Shots at home in a derby. We've done well in derbies apart from Eastleigh this year, so I think. I think just getting over the line. I can see a 3-2, but I've gone 3-1.
Okay. And then moving on, another tricky one, Hartlepool away, who are currently mid-table. And I just always think of Hartlepool. In my mind, they're a huge club. They're a really big club. And so I don't know whether that always clouds my judgment with things like this. And they have lost their last 2. But I'm going for a 1-1 draw at this point.
Yeah, I've gone for 2-2 draw. I think it's difficult. I think by the time that we play Hartlepool, they may well have lost enough steam to be out of the running for a playoff. I think they're outsiders now at this point in time. But I think by the time we get to 7 games in, I think they may have, lost it. I think if they were still challenging, that would be a possible defeat there. Long way to go, difficult pitch again, and a tough team. Particularly when the fans get behind them. New manager, famous player in Phillips. So I think tough. But yeah, 2-2 I've gone for.
You've not predicted a defeat yet, have you, Dad?
No.
Let's see if we can change that, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, this next one, Gateshead away. Is this going to be the one, Dad, where you lose faith?
I think a 1-0 defeat.
Yeah.
Gateshead currently, as we talk, currently lying in fifth, and I think they're a tasty team. Shots were lucky to draw at home with them early in the season. They play a lot of possession football, so they're a possession-based team. Gateshead have got a big pitch, and it's just a really difficult place to go, where there's a running track around the team, around the pitch, and even if you're doing well, it feels like the fans are a long way from you. So I think the shots away following will be, though will be strong. I think it won't feel quite the same as going to Dorking or going to even Maidenhead, where the crowd's very close to the pitch. So yeah, I can see us losing 1-0 at least, and just a long trip home.
A long trip home. Yeah, I've noticed that Gateshead like to score goals as well. So I think at the moment they are joint second or third in terms of most goals scored in the division. Obviously Chesterfield way out in front. So I think they will score. And I've gone for a 2-1 defeat away at Gateshead. I think we'll get a goal, but yeah, I think that's possibly the toughest game we have left, arguably.
Yeah. Okay.
You've joined me. So at the moment, yeah, you've gone for one defeat. I've gone for a couple. 2 games to go. So we're getting right towards the end of the season. Boreham Wood at home.
Yeah, I feel that somebody is going to inflict a defeat at home before the end, and it could well be Boreham Wood. Unfancied, nowhere near the playoffs at this stage as we're talking. So I think something like a 2-1 defeat could be coming, and I would put that largely down to Tishimanga, who they've re-recruited and has been scoring. I think it's the last 3 games, and he scored a double in one of those. So he's scoring more than a goal a game, and he's one of those players, the sorts of players who just always scores against shots, and he's strong, he's direct, and if they play on the break, which I think they probably will and do, I could just see it being a very unforeseen victory. Not many people would have that down as an away win, but I could see that happening. Just a sort of bump in the road before the end of the season.
Yeah, there was a lot of noise made when Shimanga signed, because he is kind of level above. Very good signing for Boreham Wood. So yeah, definitely a threat. I've gone for a 1-0 win though at home. I think it'll be cagey, but I think we'll inch over the line, get a clean sheet for the first time in a while. So I've gone 1-0 home win over Boreham Wood. And then to finish the season, we don't know whether this is going to be a huge game away at Dagenham and Redbridge, or whether this will be a dead rubber in terms of playoffs. Who knows? But what do you think, Dad, to end the season?
Yeah, I think because it's a must-win in the sense of it's the last game, and everyone wants to win that last game, don't they? If they're playing for the playoffs or promotion or relegation, I think Shotts will win 3-1. They're currently doing well as we're speaking. They're on a decent run, but I think I think they'll just have to go for the 3 points to try and secure that playoff place. So I think we'll throw the kitchen sink at it, and I think maybe it will be dead for them, because they won't be in the challenge for the playoffs.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I've matched you in terms of result, but I've gone for a 2-1 away at Dagenham. Because as you said, I think it's just last hurrah. Everyone, like you said, is going to want to win, give your all after this, hopefully playoffs, and so I think we'll just get over the line in that one. Okay, so that's our run in. Those are our 10 games. So we have both predicted 1 away defeat and 1 home defeat, I believe, in that run. Yeah. I've gone for my home defeat, Solihull. You've gone for your home defeat being Boreham Wood. Away from home, I've gone Gateshead. Away from home, you've gone Gateshead. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So,
It's almost
yeah,
as
what
if
do
we're
you
in
think
the
of
same
that, Dad?
family.
Say that again?
It's almost as if we're in the same family.
Yeah, it's almost as if we scripted it. We didn't, by the way. I
No.
had no idea. You had no idea what I was going to say. I had no idea what you were going to say. So what does that do for your points tally then, Dad? How many points do Shots get from that run of games, according to you?
So that means we finished with 76 points.
Okay. And I think for me, I think my running gets us 22 out of a possible 30, which leaves us
Yeah.
on 79. So yeah, if we even out about 77 points, I believe you've done a little bit of digging back in the archives to see where that would land us in the last few seasons.
Yeah. So that total, I was going on 76, so it will be slightly
Okay.
different for 77 or 9, but give or take. So
Yeah.
last year, that would place us, so 2022 3, that would place us in 5th position. So that's playoff position. The year before, 2021-22, it would put us in 7th position. So again, that's a playoff just into the playoffs. The year after that would put us 5th again. And quite bizarrely, in 2019-20, that would put us 1st. So we'd be championies. Yeah. The problem is that was the curtailed season because of COVID, if you remember. So the season ended after 36 games. That most people have played 36, and then the season ended. So that's a false reading. So no one knows where we would have been. 2018-19 would be 6th in the playoffs. And then 2017 and 2016, so 2017-18, 16-17 would have been 5th both occasions. And that was when Shots made the playoffs last under Gary Waddock. So in effect, if we were to achieve 76 and certainly 79 that you've predicted, we would definitely be in the playoffs.
Okay, so if we take in basically on, let's just say between the two of us on average, then we've got 6 wins, 2 defeats, a couple of draws, maybe 5 wins, 3 draws, 2 defeats. Do you think that's realistic when you look at those games? And actually, yeah, the Shots can be encouraged by that run in.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I thought long and hard about it. I mean, when you look at it, those 10 games, we play 3 top 6 teams. So if we're currently in 7th position, we play Oldham, who are 6th, we play Solihull, who are 4th, and Gateshead, who are 5th. So out of 10 games, only 3 are against top 7, i.e. playoff contenders. The remaining 7 are mid or lower table. So 17th, 20th, 16th, 23rd, 10th, and 14th and 15th currently, although the table is quite concertinaed because not many points cover the bottom 12. Sorry. So no, I think it's realistic. It depends on whether the Shots can actually keep that run going. I mean, 2 defeats in 10 is good form, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a sort of playoff form you want, or championship promotion form. Is it possible? Yeah, I think it is. Our home form has been good, and our home matches, when you look at it, are Oldham, Solihull, and Dorking, Boreham Wood. Yeah, that's it. Oldham, Ebbsfleet, Solihull, Dorking. Boreham Wood. No one to frighten us really. We've played Barnet, we've played Chesterfield, we've played the other tough ones, Altrincham and so on. So I think the Shots must be confident of garnering a lot of points at home. It's the away form. It's whether we go ahead at Gateshead after 20 minutes and then lose 3-1.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is the banana skins. Obviously, you've said Boreham Wood might be that in your mind. I think if we look after ourselves in those big games, and yeah, you may lose to Solihull, you may lose to Gateshead, but actually, if we take care of the bottom half of the table as we should, then it wouldn't really affect us, would it? And I think at this point, I don't think it matters too much where we finish in the playoffs. At this point, it's just we want to get in the playoffs. So,
Yeah.
we don't need to be winning 10 out of 10 at this point to sneak in. I think if we can, even drawing a couple, I've predicted Oldham draw, Hartlepool away draw. Some of those may be turned into wins. So I think it's pretty realistic, but you're right. I think the away form is key, isn't it? We really look
Yeah.
after ourselves at home, and you can rely on us to get the job done. We spoke about mentality earlier. There really needs to be that killer instinct away from home. And if we go 1 or 2 up, we protect this lead and we continue the intensity, because we can't really afford to drop too many points on the road before it gets out of hand.
No, I think Tommy the other day against Oxford, I think he was cross because he knows that mentality of, whatever you want to say, taking your foot off the gas or air going out of, the team, sort of not pressing our advantage, not winning that game 4 or 5-1 instead of 2-1. I think he knows that will cost us at Gateshead, Hartlepool, Dagenham if we repeat it, and that will annoy him because I don't think he's expecting that to happen at home. I think he's expecting us to garner enough points away plus the home wins to get in the playoffs. I mean, the one thing we haven't mentioned is there's a cushion, as we talk, there's a cushion between Aldershot and the next place team, which at the moment is Halifax Town, of 4 points, and that's actually quite significant, isn't it? That's quite good to have at this point. So Shots haven't got to win them all, but I think, like Theo was saying last time, if we get 2 points a game, we will definitely be in the playoffs, no doubt.
Yeah. And encouragement, I think, for all of us fans that we've spoken about before recording this podcast, is when you look at who's got the toughest fixtures in and around us, I think we're both agreed that Gateshead have got really tricky fixtures. So obviously currently they're above us, they've got a game in hand. You might think, catching them's difficult if they go on and beat us at their place, which we've predicted here. Then obviously you could say that's a 7-point gap. But in reality, I'll just read off what they've got here. So they've got Solihull at home, which obviously, that's a 6-pointer. They could easily lose that. Dagenham and Redbridge at home. Ebbsfleet away. That's tricky given their current form. Altrincham. Yeah. Now we know Altrincham have lost 5 in a row, but they're still a good side, especially at home. Hartlepool at home should win. Rochdale at home perhaps should win. Fylde away is tricky. We know about Fylde. They smashed us the other day. Then Chesterfield at home, runaway leaders. Aldershot at home. You never know what we're going to do. Maidenhead away, and then Bromley at home, who are obviously top 3. So we're agreed, aren't we, that actually Gateshead at this point need to win that game in hand because they've got a tricky 10 coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when you look at that list, Bromley, Chesterfield, Altrincham, Ebbsfleet in their current form, Dagenham in their current form, and Solihull, those are all mega games. It means half they've actually got 11. They've got Boreham Wood away as well. Half their games are, if you like, 6-pointers, as we used to call them. Whereas I think Aldershot, you've got 3 games that are 6-pointers in the sense of, Oldham, Solihull and Gateshead. The other thing to mention is Gateshead is still in the trophy, which means they've got extra games to play, which either can be a plus or a minus. But if they get some injuries or fatigue, so they've got to slot in more games midweek between now and the end of the season. Aldershot don't have to do that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That'll definitely help when it comes to tired legs at the end of the season. And I just look at even the games you'd say they should win. Gateshead, this is. Even the Ebbsfleet's away, Fylde away. I think they're both really tricky games at this point of the season. Obviously, both of them trying to get away from relegation. And so even their winnable games, they're away from home. And, some of their tough game, Bromley, Chesterfield, to have those two still. Rochdale been on, not a brilliant time of it, but I think there's some really tricky ones there. And as he said, I think the Shots, we could have a few bankers where we say we should beat 3 teams. But I think, it could be interesting to see whether Gateshead are the ones to go below us based on how they do. But time will tell, won't it?
Yeah. I think it's fascinating. I mean, it's exciting and it's great for us to be involved in for once, instead of looking over our shoulder at the dotted line below us.
I know it's nice, lovely, isn't it, to be able to look down on others rather than
Yeah,
constantly
it's,
wishing we were upward in the table. Dad, let's just finish by thinking about who the possible biggest banana skins are in the playoff race. So we've mentioned teams. Obviously, we've got Ebbsfleet with Danny Searle. We've got Dorking, who look like they could be getting going. Kidderminster, since Phil Brown's come in, they've been completely
mm.
transformed. They've only lost one of their last five. Who do you see towards the bottom that actually could do some damage by beating those playoff chasing teams?
Well, I think you've named it in terms of Ebbsfleet are currently in form, aren't they? And they don't look like they're fading. It's not just sort of one win wonder. I don't know what Danny Searle's doing, but whatever it is, they're obviously at the moment in rich vein of form. So I think Shots will be hoping that Ebbsfleet lose against us, but then give trouble and strife to Gateshead, who they've got to play. That they've also got to play Solihull, which is interesting. And I think they've also got to play against who else? They've got Oldham to play. I think, and I think the possibility that they take points off people would be quite strong, in my opinion. I think also Woking, although some Shots fans watching this will think, I hope Woking disappear, but actually Woking have got to play some of those clubs as well. So I think that would be my hope, that Ebbsfleet can take some points, Fyle can take some points, and Dorking, although we've got to play them too, I think Dorking, they're so up and down, they come up with some amazing results and then sort of blow up for a period. So um, and I'm just wondering, there's always a club that makes a late run, and I just wonder if Dagenham might be that team who get a string of wins, maybe even win 7 out of the last 10. If they won 7 out of the last, or 8 out of the last 10, they'd be nearly there. So I think that's an interesting thing. They've got to play Oldham at home, and I think and Altrincham, it looks really grim for them. 5 defeats in a row. But if they turn it around, they could also be on the Shots' tail come the end.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even though Altrincham have dropped like a stone, and as you say, 5 on the bounce, they're still only 5 points off Shots.
Yeah.
So it just shows you they were doing so well for such a long period that they're still not out of it.
No.
They just need to stop the rot at this point. And I think, yeah, for me, completely take what you're saying. I think Kidderminster, they're really impressed with them and their turnaround. And I
Mm.
think Dorking, yeah, Dorking are just a bit dangerous. As you said, you never really know which side you're going to get. And Dagenham and Redbridge are a good team on their day. They've only lost 1 in their last 5, so form would suggest they're quite hard to beat at the moment. They're quite solid. They're drawing quite a few games. So yeah, I mean it's all hypothetical, but I think I'd rather be Shots than Gateshead at this point.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at points garnered over the last 10 games, Gateshead are top of the pile. They've of these clubs we're talking about, forget Chesterfield, Bromley, and Barnet, but they've garnered 18 out of 30 points, and so have Oldham. So that's pretty good going out of 30. And then come the Shots with 17 points out of their 30. And then Solihull with 15. And poor old Altrincham, because of what they've done, they've only got 10 out of the last 30. But prior to that, they were doing really well. So it's quite in terms of form teams. Gateshead and Oldham are in top form in terms of the playoff positions. Then come the Shots. Then you've got Solihull, and then Altrincham. That's the go at the moment. And Halifax, they're 4 points adrift. It really depends on their fixtures, I think, and they've got some hard fixtures to come, but they could pull through. I just don't think they've got quite enough sparkle to get the playoffs for me. Halifax, they're a little bit workmanlike for me.
Okay, final word to you, Dad. Do you think goal difference is going to come back to bite us at the end of the season, or do you think we'll be all right? Do you think we'll turn it round slightly? maybe get into the positive, because we're -5 as we are
Yeah.
sat here today. How decisive do you think goal difference will be?
I think with the points that I think we're going to get, I think we're going to end up with 76 or 79 points. I don't think it will stop us getting to the playoffs. I think what goal difference will do will determine which position we're in. So 5, 6 or 7. So I think Gates says, their goal difference is +20 or so. So they're way ahead of us. So I think it might end up putting us in 6th or 7th rather than 5th or 4th, which will mean we're playing away in the first leg of the playoffs. So is it critical? Yes, but I don't think it will stop us making the playoffs. I believe we'll make the playoffs. I just think we'll be in position 6 or 7, whereas with a few more wins, like against Oxford, 4-1, 5-1 instead of 2-1, not lose to Kidderminster 4-2, but instead actually win the game 4-1 or something, which could have happened, etc. So no, I don't think it's critical, but I think it will determine our final position, which will determine who we play, which will determine how tough the playoffs are.
Yeah. Okay, time to sort it out then. The message is 10 games to go. Get some clean sheets. Start ticking those off one by one. And we will, Dad, we'll revisit as we go over these next few weeks. But there you go. You have it from us. So both of us basically chart the shots to be in the playoffs come the end of the season. And we'd love to know what you think watching or listening to this. Give us a comment underneath if you're on YouTube, or just get in touch with us on socials and let us know, what do you think your final point tally is going to be for the shots this season? Will they get to the playoffs? But Dad, we'll leave it there. Next week, we'll again chat about the shots. We'll have a guest with us, and we will have another conversation as we look forward. 9 games to go by that point.
Yeah. And just to shout out, Liam, to the Shots fans, 500 away, matching the home support is fantastic. So I think, keep supporting the Shots, keep believing, and it makes an awful lot of difference. I know we heard from Theo, we heard from Tommy, heard from other players as well. It really matters. So even if we're behind, keep the faith.